I am Ray, a successful software engineer with a life many would envy. My 8-year marriage to Stephanie began like a fairy tale. Ambitious careers are beautiful Seattle suburban home exotic vacations. But over the past year, something changed. Her late nights increased. Her phone became guarded, and her excuses multiplied. Now she has planned this elaborate anniversary dinner, thinking she will surprise me with divorce papers. What she does not know is that I already have my own paperwork ready. Let me know where you are watching from, and subscribe for more real-life stories like mine. Meeting Stephanie was one of those moments that changes your life forever. I was presenting at a major tech conference in San Francisco when this brilliant marketing specialist asked the most insightful question during my Q&A. Stephanie had this way of cutting through technical jargon and finding the human application, a skill I deeply admired. After my talk, she approached me with business cards in hand, but our conversation quickly moved from professional networking to personal connection. Our courtship was a whirlwind. Both ambitious, career-driven people, we understood the demands of professional life in a way previous partners never had. 3 months of cross-country flights between Seattle and Boston, where she worked at the time, convinced her to relocate west. 6 months later, I proposed during a sunrise hike at Mount Rainier. The wedding in Napa Valley still brings smiles to our families when mentioned. Perfect weather, vineyard views, and genuine joy from everyone who attended. My parents, initially worried about our short courtship, were completely won over by Stephanie. Her father, Frank, a retired business executive, quickly became a mentor to me, offering career and investment advice that proved invaluable. Those first 5 years were everything I had hoped marriage would be. We purchased our dream house in the Seattle suburbs. Modern architecture with mountain views, an open floor plan for entertaining, and enough space for future children. Though, we agreed to focus on our careers first. Our careers flourished in parallel. My promotion to senior software architect at a leading tech company matched her rise to marketing director at her firm. Our shared ambition extended to our personal lives too. Instead of children, we filled our free time with adventure. Our anniversary trips became a tradition we both looked forward to: snorkeling in Hawaii, exploring ancient ruins in Mexico, wine tasting across Europe. Each trip added another chapter to what I thought was our perfect love story. We built a strong social circle too. Friends from both our workplaces merged into weekend barbecues, holiday parties, and outdoor adventures. Brian and Kelly, our neighbors, who became close friends, often joked that Stephanie and I were their relationship role models. It was around our 6th anniversary when I first noticed subtle changes. Stephanie began working later, which seemed reasonable given her recent promotion. Our weekly date nights became bi-weekly, then monthly, as her projects demanded more attention. She seemed more distant, checking her phone constantly, even during our limited time together. I dismissed these warning signs as temporary work stress, believing our foundation was strong enough to weather any professional demands. How wrong I was to ignore those early signs. The woman who once told me everything began keeping parts of her life mysterious. The woman who once looked at me with such admiration now seemed to look through me as if I were merely an obstacle in her path to somewhere else. But I still had no idea how completely our world was about to change. The shifts in our relationship came so gradually that I almost convinced myself I was imagining things. Almost. Stephanie changed all her passwords, social media, email, phone. When I casually mentioned needing to check an old flight confirmation in her email, she grew defensive. Her phone became a fortress. Always face down, never left unattended passcode changed weekly. Our social calendar, once filled with dinner dates and weekend getaways, became a wasteland of cancellations. The dinner with my colleague Stephanie suddenly had a client emergency. The weekend in Portland we had planned for months. A last-minute marketing conference she absolutely could not miss. Then James entered the picture, her new coworker who joined the marketing team and quickly became her frequent collaborator. Stephanie mentioned him casually at first. James suggested this campaign approach. James has connections with this client. Soon it was James and I had lunch to discuss strategy. James and I need to work late on this proposal. I tried to be supportive, understanding the demands of her career advancement. I made genuine attempts to reconnect. Surprise lunch deliveries to her office were met with irritation rather than appreciation. Carefully planned date nights ended with Stephanie distracted checking her phone under the table. The woman who once looked at me with such warmth now seemed annoyed by my presence. The suspicion that had been building finally crystallized one night when I woke at 2 a.m. to find her side of the bed empty. From the hallway, I heard her hushed voice from our home office. "I cannot keep doing this much longer. I know. He has no idea. Just a few more weeks, and then we can stop pretending." When she returned to bed, she claimed she had been on a work call with the Australian office. I felt physically ill. The next morning, while Stephanie was in the shower, I checked our credit card statements. Something I had never felt the need to do before. Unfamiliar restaurant charges in neighborhoods far from her office. A hotel charge on a night she claimed to be working late. Jewelry purchases that never appeared around her neck or wrists. The final confirmation came during her supposed business trip to Chicago. Her social media location accidentally revealed she was in Los Angeles instead. The photos from her colleagues showed the marketing team in Chicago, without Stephanie. My stomach knotted as the evidence mounted. When confronted about these inconsistencies, Stephanie became a skilled illusionist, making facts disappear and creating explanations out of thin air. The hotel charge, a room for a client, the Los Angeles trip, last-minute change of plans she forgot to mention. Her dismissive tone suggested I was being paranoid, controlling, and unsupportive of her career. I realized I needed objective confirmation. The decision to hire a private investigator was not made lightly. It felt like a betrayal of trust, but what trust remained to betray? A week later, the PI delivered a manila envelope containing photos of Stephanie and James, entering a downtown apartment building, dining intimately at restaurants, across town holding hands in a park we used to visit together. Their body language revealed a comfort and familiarity that comes only from significant time spent together. The moment I saw those photos alone in my parked car outside the investigator office, something inside me broke. 8 years of memories, plans, and shared dreams collapsed like a house of cards. I sobbed uncontrollably, hands gripping the steering wheel as if it could somehow stabilize my crumbling world. Seeking help seemed the only rational choice. The therapist helped me understand that my emotions, rage, despair, humiliation, were normal responses to profound betrayal. Through those sessions, I gradually moved from emotional devastation toward strategic thinking. The therapist asked a question that changed my approach. What outcome would make you feel whole again? Not reconciliation, not revenge, but dignity and fair resolution. That required evidence and preparation. As I monitored our accounts more closely, I discovered alarming financial activities, large withdrawals from our joint savings investment account, inquiries, consultations with financial advisors I knew nothing about. Stephanie was not just having an affair. She was preparing for a calculated exit. Armed with the painful knowledge of Stephanie betrayal, I sought professional guidance. The meeting with attorney Sandra Williams was sobering. Based on the evidence I presented, she outlined what a potential divorce might look like in Washington state. The division of assets, the selling of our home, the financial implications, hearing it laid out so clinically, made the situation painfully real. Then came the revelation that changed everything. Sandra received a call from a colleague at another firm while I sat in her office. After a brief cryptic conversation, she placed her hand over the receiver and whispered, "Do you know anyone named James Hamilton, the same James from Stephanie work?" Sandra excused herself to take the call privately, returning with information that sent ice through my veins. "Ray, I need to tell you something unusual. A friend at Bartlett and Associates just called. Apparently your wife has been consulting with them about filing for divorce. They mentioned she plans to serve you papers at your anniversary dinner next week." The anniversary dinner Stephanie had been insisting on for weeks. The special celebration she kept mentioning. It was all a setup, a theatrical production where she would blindside me with divorce papers in public, perhaps expecting emotional breakdown or scene. My humiliation would be her power play. With this knowledge, I became methodical. I spent days gathering and organizing financial records, bank statements, investment accounts, property deeds, tax returns. Our prenuptial agreement, which we had signed at the insistence of her father, now seemed prescient. I documented the timeline of her affair with dates, locations, and photographic evidence. My meeting with financial advisor Thomas Reed focused on protection rather than retaliation. We identified vulnerable joint accounts and created a strategy to secure my assets without illegally hiding them. I opened separate accounts at a different bank and transferred my personal funds, careful to leave joint accounts untouched for now. At home, I secured important documents, birth certificates, passports, family heirlooms from my grandmother, items that could disappear in the chaos of separation. I recorded conversations where Stephanie mentioned future plans that conspicuously excluded me. Renovations to our vacation property that would be perfect for weekend getaways phrased as if she alone would enjoy them. The most damning evidence came accidentally. Stephanie had left her laptop open one evening while taking a call in another room. A draft email to James appeared on screen. After serving him papers, we can move quickly. My lawyer says with the documentation we have, we can push for a favorable settlement. Once this is over, we can finally stop hiding. Attached was a draft of divorce papers, already prepared for filing. This discovery transformed my emotional journey. The devastation gave way to clarity. The pain became purpose. I was no longer a victim, but a strategist. With my attorney, I prepared my own divorce filing, carefully documenting Stephanie's affair and financial deceptions. The papers were ready, waiting in my desk drawer for the right moment. Friends who had witnessed Stephanie with James provided written statements. Kelly, our neighbor, reluctantly admitted seeing them together at restaurants across town. Brian had encountered them at a hotel bar during a business trip. These confirmations from people we both trusted strengthened my position. The calculated decision not to confront Stephanie immediately was perhaps the hardest part. Every morning I woke up beside a stranger planning my downfall. Every dinner conversation felt like a performance, her questions about my day and future plans now sinister in their duplicity. I maintained the act of normalcy while carrying the crushing weight of betrayal. The emotional toll was immense. Nights when she worked late, I knew she was with him. Mornings when she kissed me goodbye, I wondered if she had just messaged him. The home that once felt like a sanctuary became a stage where I performed the role of unsuspecting husband, but enduring this charade would be worth it for the moment of reclaiming my dignity. The day before our anniversary, I finalized my preparations. My attorney was on standby. Financial protections were in place. My divorce papers, tucked into an elegant leather portfolio, waited in my briefcase. As Stephanie reminded me about our 7:00 p.m. reservation at Canlis, one of Seattle's most expensive restaurants, I smiled and said I was looking forward to our special night. For once, I truly was. Our anniversary evening began with calculated precision. I selected my best suit, charcoal gray with subtle pinstripes, the one Stephanie always complimented. The leather portfolio containing my divorce papers fit perfectly inside the jacket pocket. As I adjusted my tie in the mirror, I rehearsed maintaining composure regardless of how the evening unfolded. Stephanie emerged from her closet wearing a new black dress I had never seen before. "Do you like it?" "Special occasion calls for something new," she smiled with an enthusiasm that now seemed hollow. Her hair was professionally styled, makeup immaculate. She was dressed for an audience, not just for me. During the drive to Canlis, Stephanie was uncharacteristically chatty, asking about my day, my recent project deadline, whether I had spoken to my parents lately. I answered each question calmly, playing my part in this final act of our marriage. The Seattle skyline glittered across the water as we approached the restaurant, a view that once symbolized our shared success, but now felt like the backdrop to an elaborate deception. The restaurant host led us to a secluded corner table overlooking Lake Union, exactly as Stephanie had requested when making the reservation. Private enough for her planned confrontation, yet public enough to discourage any significant reaction from me. The perfect setting for her theatrical serving of divorce papers. "This is nice," I commented, surveying the intimate table setting with its crisp white linen and flickering candles. "You chose well. Only the best for our anniversary," Stephanie replied, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. She immediately ordered an expensive bottle of champagne, Veuve Clicquot, the same brand we had at our wedding. The symbolism was not lost on me. While waiting for our appetizers, Stephanie engaged in awkward small talk. How was Brian doing after his promotion? Had I heard from my cousin in Boston? She kept checking her phone beneath the table, presumably coordinating with someone about the delivery of her divorce papers. Each glance at her watch betrayed her anticipation. "Remember our first anniversary?" I asked, genuinely curious if any of our memories still held meaning for her. "That little cabin on Lake Chelan." Her response was vague, distracted. Of course, it was lovely. The woman who once could recount every detail of our special moments now seemed to struggle remembering basic facts about our history. After ordering our entrees, Stephanie excused herself to use the restroom. Through the dining room window, I glimpsed her outside on her phone, gesturing animatedly. Not a bathroom break, but a final consultation, with her lawyer confirming the delivery of her documents. The waiter approached with a knowing look, carrying a manila envelope alongside our appetizers. "Mrs. Walker asked that this be delivered to the table while she was away," he explained, placing the envelope beside my plate before discreetly withdrawing. The envelope sat between us like an unwelcome dinner guest. I did not touch it, knowing exactly what it contained. Stephanie returned her expression, a mixture of nervous energy and poorly concealed triumph. She noted the envelope with feigned surprise. "What is that?" "It appears to be something you arranged to have delivered," I replied calmly, taking a sip of water. She took a deep breath, straightening her posture as if preparing for a practice speech. "Ray, I need to talk to you about something important. The past 8 years have meant a lot to me, but people change, and needs change." I nodded, allowing her to continue her prepared monologue about growing apart and wanting different futures. She spoke of separate paths and amicable partings, all while avoiding any mention of James or her affair. The envelope remained untouched as she built toward her dramatic conclusion. "So that is why," she finally said, gesturing toward the envelope, "I have made the difficult decision to file for divorce. The papers are all there. I hope we can handle this as adults." The moment of revelation had arrived. Rather than appearing shocked or devastated as she clearly expected, I maintained perfect composure. "I see. Is there anything else you wanted to say before I respond?" Her confidence faltered slightly at my calmness. "I just think this is for the best, Ray. We both deserve happiness." With deliberate slowness, I reached inside my jacket and withdrew my leather portfolio. Opening it carefully, I removed my own set of divorce papers and placed them on the table beside hers. "I agree completely," I said quietly, "which is why I have also filed for divorce." The color drained from Stephanie's face. Her mouth opened and closed without producing sound, her script suddenly useless. What? What are you talking about?" "I know everything, Stephanie. About James, about the apartment downtown, about the withdrawals from our joint accounts, about your plans to blindside me tonight." My voice remained steady, controlled. "I have known for months." "That is ridiculous," she stammered, but her eyes betrayed panic. "James is just a colleague. You are being paranoid." I smiled sadly. "Please do not insult my intelligence along with everything else. I have photographs, witness statements, financial records. Your affair is thoroughly documented in my filing." Other diners had begun to notice our intense conversation. A couple at a nearby table quickly averted their eyes when Stephanie glanced in their direction. The public setting she had chosen for my humiliation was now the backdrop for her own discomfort. "You had me followed," she hissed, anger replacing shock. "You invaded my privacy." "After you invaded our marriage," I countered calmly. "After you lied about Chicago when you were really in Los Angeles with him. After you used our joint funds to book hotel rooms. Would you prefer?" I had remained ignorant while you deceived me. Tears welled in her eyes, but I could not determine if they were from genuine remorse or frustrated that her plan had backfired. "It was not supposed to happen like this." "No," I agreed. "You wanted to ambush me. You wanted the power of shocking me in public, of controlling the narrative. But relationships are not about power, Stephanie. They are about trust, which you shattered long ago." She grabbed her purse and stood abruptly. "I cannot do this here. That is your choice. But we will need to discuss this eventually. My lawyer will contact yours tomorrow." Stephanie stormed out of the restaurant, leaving her untouched champagne and unopened divorce papers behind. Several diners watched her hasty exit before pretending to return to their meals. The waiter approached cautiously, unsure how to proceed. Is everything all right, sir? Yes, I replied, folding both sets of divorce papers into my portfolio. Just a change of plans. Could I get the check, please? And perhaps a box for these appetizers. I paid the bill, including a generous tip for the waiter, who had unwittingly participated in this marital drama. The drive home was surreal. Empty passenger seat radio playing love songs in cruel irony. For the first time in months, I felt no need to maintain pretenses. The mask of the unsuspecting husband could finally be removed. Arriving home, I found Stephanie frantically packing suitcases in our bedroom. Clothes were strewn across the bed dresser drawers left open. She barely acknowledged my presence. "Where will you go?" I asked from the doorway. "To stay with Amanda," she replied, naming a friend from work. We both knew she was really going to James. "We need to talk about how we handle this, Stephanie. Division of assets. The house. Our investments." She paused her packing, finally looking at me directly. "How long have you known since the Chicago trip?" That was actually Los Angeles. The rest I pieced together afterward. Her shoulders slumped as the weight of her deception settled. I did not mean for it to happen. James and I just connected in a way that... She trailed off, perhaps realizing how hurtful her words were. In a way that we no longer did. I finished for her. "I understand attraction happens, Stephanie. What I cannot understand is the elaborate deception, the months of lies, planning to ambush me with divorce papers on our anniversary. That shows contempt, not just the end of love." Tears ran down her cheeks, smudging her perfect makeup. "I am sorry it ended this way. Truly. You deserved better." "Yes," I agreed simply. I did. I left her to pack, retreating to my home office, where I had spent so many nights working to build our future. A future that now would take a very different form. An hour later, I heard the front door close, as Stephanie left with her suitcases, taking the first step in our permanent separation. The following weeks brought a flurry of legal proceedings. My careful preparation paid dividends. The documented affair, the financial evidence, the prenuptial agreement, all strengthened my position. Our assets were divided, with the prenup protecting my stock options and tech patents. The house would be sold, the proceeds split according to our original investment percentages. Friends chose sides as news of our separation spread. Some expressed shock, others admitted they had suspected something was wrong for months. Brian and Kelly remained supportive, inviting me for dinner regularly to ensure I was not isolating myself. My parents called daily, offering to visit if I needed family around me. The first night alone in our half-empty house was the hardest. Echoing rooms filled with memories that now felt tainted. I sat on our patio with a glass of whiskey, looking at the mountains we had admired together when purchasing the property. The pain was still acute, but beneath it was something unexpected: relief. The exhausting charade was over. My therapist became essential in processing the end of my marriage. Betrayal trauma, she called it. Explaining the particular devastation that comes from deception by someone you deeply trusted. Each session helped me understand that Stephanie's choices reflected her character, not my worth. Gradually, I rebuilt. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during marriage. I rediscovered rock climbing, a passion I had set aside years ago. Weekends that might have been filled with loneliness instead became adventures. Hiking trails I had always wanted to explore, visiting coastal towns I had never seen. 6 months after our separation, I sold our house. The memories it contained were too heavy to carry forward. I purchased a modern loft downtown, closer to my office, and embodying a fresh aesthetic with no traces of my previous life. The space became a physical manifestation of my new beginning. Almost exactly 1 year after our anniversary dinner confrontation, I encountered Stephanie at a local coffee shop. She looked different, hair shorter, expression less confident. We exchanged awkward greetings, both surprised by the chance meeting. "You look well," she offered, eyes assessing my appearance. "I am doing well," I confirmed. "And you?" She shrugged slightly. "Getting there. James and I." She hesitated. It did not work out. I felt no satisfaction at this news, only a distant sadness for what we had both lost. "I am sorry to hear that. Your new software patent made the industry news," she said, changing subjects. "Congratulations." "Thank you. It was a project I started afterward. Sometimes endings create unexpected space for creation. Our conversation remained brief, civil. As we parted ways, Stephanie paused. Ray, for what it is worth, I truly regret how I handled everything. Not just the end, but the way I ended it. I appreciate that I replied honestly. I hope you find what you are looking for, Stephanie. Walking away, I realized the encounter had not reopened old wounds, as I had feared it might. The pain had transformed into something more like wisdom. Hard-earned, but valuable. The betrayal had forced me to rediscover my own worth, separate from our relationship. The greatest lesson from my failed marriage was not about distrust, but about self-respect, about recognizing that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can control how we respond to them. About finding peace not in the absence of challenges, but in the knowledge that we can face them with dignity. Today, I am building a life authentic to my values. The betrayal that once defined my days has become just one chapter in a longer story. There is freedom in standing up for yourself and refusing to be a victim of someone else's story. There is power in writing your own next chapter. Have you ever had to completely restart your life after betrayal? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to hear more real-life journeys of overcoming challenges. Like and share with someone who might need to hear that after betrayal, rebuilding is possible. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, your worst moments do not define your whole life.